She left the motel. The motel's neon sign flickered, casting a sickly pink glow across the gravel lot where her car should have been. Lena's breath caught, sharp and cold, as she stood frozen, clutching her purse like a lifeline. The air smelled of diesel and rain-soaked asphalt, the kind of scent that clings to despair. Her heart thumped against her ribs, not just from the missing car, but from the weight of the night, the secret she'd carried for months, and the lie she'd told her husband, Mark, about working late. She scanned the empty lot, her boots crunching against loose stones. No headlights, no tire tracks, just the hum of the highway in the distance. Her phone buzzed in her pocket, but she ignored it, her mind spiraling. Did I park it somewhere else? Did someone steal it? The questions felt flimsy, like paper excuses she'd used before. She'd left the motel room only minutes ago, her skin still warm from Ethan's touch. His whispered promises lingering like smoke. Now, standing alone in the dark, guilt gnawed at her, sharper than the wind. Lena forced herself to move, her legs unsteady as she walked toward the motel office. The clerk, a wiry man with a stained flannel shirt, barely looked up from his phone. "Car's gone," he muttered, chewing on a toothpick. "Happens sometimes. Shady types around here. Call a cab." His indifference stung, but she didn't argue. She couldn't afford attention. Not tonight, not with Ethan's cologne still clinging to her jacket. The cab ride home was a blur of sodium-lit streets and her own racing thoughts. She rehearsed her story for Mark. "Car broke down, got towed, I'll deal with it tomorrow." But her mind kept snagging on Ethan's words in the motel room. His hand brushing her cheek as he said, "You deserve more than him, Lena. You know that." She'd wanted to believe him, wanted to drown in the fantasy that her marriage was the mistake, not her betrayal. But now, with the city lights smearing past the cab window, doubt crept in. What if Mark knew? What if he'd taken the car? Her small craftsman house loomed at the end of the cul-de-sac, its porch light glowing like an accusation. She paid the driver, her fingers trembling, and stepped onto the lawn. The grass was damp, the air heavy with the scent of impending rain. Her key scraped in the lock, and the door creaked open to a house too quiet, too still. "Mark," she called, her voice thin. No answer. The living room was dark, the TV off, the couch empty. Her stomach twisted. Mark always waited up, his routine as predictable as the tide. She flicked on the kitchen light, and her breath stopped. A single glass sat on the counter, half filled with whiskey, Mark's drink, but not his habit. He never drank alone. Next to it, a folded piece of paper, her name scrawled in his precise handwriting. Her pulse roared in her ears as she reached for it, her fingers brushing the cold glass. The note was short, each word a blade. "I saw you. No. I'm done." Lena's knees buckled, and she gripped the counter to stay upright. Her mind raced, replaying the past weeks, Mark's late nights at the office. His clipped responses, the way he'd stopped touching her. She'd told herself it was stress, his new promotion, anything but suspicion. But now, the truth crashed over her like a wave. He'd followed her. To the motel. To Ethan. She stumbled to the bedroom, desperate to find him, to explain, to beg. The bed was unmade, his side untouched. His dresser drawers hung open, half empty. A sob clawed its way up her throat. She sank to the floor, clutching one of his shirts, its familiar scent of cedar and soap twisting the knife in her chest. How did I let it get this far? She'd loved Mark, still did, in a way that ached like a bruise. Ethan had been a spark, a reckless escape from the monotony of their life, but Mark was her anchor. Or had been. Her phone buzzed again, and this time she looked. A text from Ethan. "You okay? Miss you already." Her thumb hovered over the screen, torn between rage and longing. She wanted to scream at him, to blame him for this unraveling, but she knew the truth. She'd chosen this. Every stolen moment, every lie had been hers. The doorbell rang, sharp and jarring. Lena froze, her heart lurching. Mark. No, he wouldn't ring the bell. She crept to the living room, peering through the peephole. Ethan stood on the porch, his leather jacket slick with drizzle, his expression tense. Panic surged through her. "What are you doing here?" she hissed, cracking the door open. "I was worried," he said, his voice low, urgent. "You didn't answer." "I saw your car." "What?" Lena's voice cracked. "Where?" "Outside the motel down the street. Someone moved it, Lena. I don't know who, but—" He stopped, his eyes flicking past her into the house. "Is he here?" She shook her head, her throat tight. "He's gone. He knows, Ethan. He left a note." Ethan's face paled, but his jaw tightened. "Then it's over. You don't need him. Come with me." The words hit like a slap. She stared at him, his earnest eyes, his easy confidence, and saw the lie she'd been chasing. Ethan didn't know her. Not the way Mark did, not the way she'd thought she wanted. "Get out," she whispered, her voice breaking. "This was a mistake." "Lena, don't." "Get out," she screamed, shoving the door shut. She leaned against it, tears streaming down her face, as his footsteps faded into the night. The house felt hollow, a shell of the life she'd built. She wandered back to the kitchen, the note still crumpled in her hand. She read it again, her eyes catching on the final word, "Done." But then she noticed something else, a faint smudge of lipstick on the whiskey glass. Not her shade. Her heart stuttered as she picked it up, the crimson stain glaring under the light. Mark hadn't just known about her betrayal. He'd had his own. She sank to the floor, the glass clattering beside her. The truth was a jagged thing, cutting both ways. She'd broken their vows, but so had he. The car, the note, his absence. It wasn't just anger. It was a confession. Lena laughed, a raw, broken sound, as the rain began to fall outside. She'd lost him, but he'd lost her too. And in that shared ruin, there was no one left to forgive.